All right, folks, we are here with the post-game show, here with the Yama and Greg Flamong, and I'm Mike Frank, here with Irish Sports Daily's post-game show. Wanted to mention, if you are not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, make sure you click the subscribe button, and that way you can check out all our videos that we have throughout the week. If you're not a member of irishsportsdaily.com, you can go to the front page, click on the subscribe section, and you can sign up, and we're going to have a lot to talk about, guys. I got some thoughts, and we'll get to them here in a minute. I got some good thoughts. I got some thoughts that were a little bit frustrating. There was a little bit of both in the game, but I think overall came out, pretty focused. I thought they were ready to go for the most part, and executed pretty well. Certainly in the first half they did, and clean game, really clean game for Notre Dame until they had the tip ball. It was so funny. I was sitting there with my wife, and I'm like, he keeps throwing into the middle of the field. Sooner or later, they're going to tip one of these balls, and it's just like, boom. As soon as I said that, they get an interception, and that's why 5'11" quarterbacks, it's hard to throw in the middle of the field. But there certainly was a lot of plays to be made there. Love to see Jaden Thomas break through and start to become a factor. They need another wide receiver in here. I thought the running game was good most of the time until they needed it in a few key places. It was funny, texting with a few buddies. I was like, okay, well, they scored coming out of the halftime. I'm like, this is where the defense lets down. Sure enough, here we go. And it just, I don't know, man. It just, they got to kind of clean a few of those things up. But overall, gut check win, which is important, I think, for culture, that type of thing. And I thought they did a pretty good job, coaching, everything, and it was a clean game. So you got to be really excited about what Notre Dame did in this game, and I think the future of it, things look pretty good. So start with you, Yama, your overall thoughts here, buddy.
I think, probably the fact that things were going off the rails. Things were not looking good. Like, all the momentum was going BYU's way. And I think there was a lot of things in this game that were reminiscent of, the earlier, like when they gave up that drive, that 3rd and long, giving up that draw for like 3rd and 17. Like, that was a killer. And then you give up that long drive after that. And then you think, oh, this is like Marshall and that kind of same kind of drive there. And obviously, Ohio State had a similar drive like that. But I mean, the defense obviously didn't respond on that drive, but the 3rd and 4th and short, those were huge plays. And then to get afterwards, especially after you get a holding call on Lug, on that to make it 2nd and forever. And then you convert because Diggs makes it was a great block, but just a phenomenal play. And then obviously, you finish at the end too. You got to get one more first down to end the game, and they finish, right? And there were definitely things in the game, like you could say, like some of the stuff, the red zone calls and stuff from Tommy Rees. I thought he called a good game overall, but there's a lot of these calls that you're like, wow, were head scratchers. But I mean, overall, you think the offense played really well. And like you said, there was really good things to step up. I think the defense,
except the red zone. I mean, they should have finished. If they would have finished,
this game wasn't close.
Exactly. And that's
even if they had that momentum. Yeah. Even if they had that momentum.
It didn't matter. Yeah. It wouldn't have mattered if they would have just finished on those drives. And again, you got to clean that up, and they will, and you can't be perfect every time and that type of thing, but just way too many down there in the red zone to have that happen. And, in a game like this where the team's explosive and they can make some plays. And I mean, it's crazy. BYU's got better skill talent than Notre Dame does. I mean, that's crazy to think, but they kind of do. They don't have a Michael Mayer, thank God, but they've got some pretty talented players on that side of the ball for sure. And I was excited. Prince Coley played. I want to see more of Prince Coley. I want to see a lot more of Prince Coley. J.D. Bertrand came in the second half, and it looked a lot like the defense when J.D. Bertrand is in there, which is not very good. And I don't understand why the guy plays. I just don't understand it. They're not effective when he's in the game, very rarely. So, but there's so much to be excited about. As far as I thought pass protection was really good for the most part. I thought Notre Dame secondary did a pretty good job until we had a few busted plays there. But, I think doing a fairly solid job of coverage, all that good stuff. Greg, your overall thoughts on this, buddy?
So obviously, I'm just kind of looking at the chat, and it's odd that like everyone's kind of in a bad mood about
the win
this game. Yeah, and it's like, look, I
feels like a Notre Dame game.
I understand the sentiment behind that, but at the same time, like I thought that
winning is hard.
I thought the way Notre Dame played was good. I thought they played well. There was the situational football got to them in this game, and so I think that when you guys when we all predicted Notre Dame to win. I think that when me and Jamie analyzed the game throughout the week, I think we had the game right. It's just that in a football game, there are situations that can go your way, and you like this is a game that easily could have been 45-20.
Sure.
And everyone's in a good, happy mood and all those things. There were situational things. They were bad in the red zone, right? And anytime you're bad in the red zone, you're burning points. You're throwing them away, right? BYU can't move the ball in the first half. Notre Dame gets a great punt. They return it 40 yards or whatever it is, and then BYU has a short field, and they score a touchdown on 4th and 2, So I think the way Notre Dame played, I thought they played well, right? And there were situational things that cost Notre Dame in this game. And so, but I do think it's important for this team specifically because they need to keep building, right? They need to keep building and building and building. And I think this game does that. It's like, look, Notre Dame tried to lose this game for all intents and purposes. They in the second half, after the Mayer touchdown coming out at halftime, busts in coverage. Drew Pine misses Mayer on a 3rd down, which is like easy conversion. Hadn't missed that all day. He misses it. They go down and score again. 3rd and 17 run play. BYU's giving up. And then Notre Dame responds with a good drive that ends in an interception, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, like we're going down to ice the game. We're going to answer. They don't answer. And then Notre Dame gets the stop. They get the stop. Now, granted, it was a drop by the receiver. But look, Notre Dame made mistakes too, right? Like Drew Pine missed him. The kid makes the drop. Okay. Notre Dame, they don't score a touchdown, right? They get the ball all the way down there, don't score a touchdown. BYU drives, they get the 4th down stop. So I thought they answered the way you want to, building throughout the season. So there are things that we aren't happy with, but at the same time, like I think that the way this game went is a big positive, and the staff and the players can take a lot of positives from the way this game ended up.
I think you're right in that. It's a gut check moment, and they're going to need to respond probably that way when they're playing against Clemson, when they're playing against USC, and maybe even against Syracuse. We'll see what Syracuse does here moving forward, but this is going to be a situation where it's going to be difficult. They're going to be in moments where they're going to have to step up and have another gut check moment, and Notre Dame's had a number of those so far this year and responded well, except for the Marshall game, in those moments. And, did it in Cal, did it a few times, I guess. And then certainly North Carolina, when things got a little bit crazy, they responded and kind of shut everything down. So I think that's important. If you win by 25, you don't get that kind of reward in that, okay, this was a gut check moment. This was a culture win type of thing to kind of put in your back pocket that you can use when you're playing Clemson and when you're playing USC. So it is that situation, but it would be nice. It would be nice if we could just sit back and relax for one of these games and just enjoy it and smile. I guess we did last time.
Oh, that was last week.
Yeah,
they never give us 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, never. But it would be nice. It certainly would be. The other thing I don't think we mentioned, and I think I probably should have been the first thing out of our mouths is Drew Pine. Wow, I mean, who would have thought that this kid would play like this? I mean, seriously, I did not think that he would play like this. I really didn't. Even with a good running game, I thought, okay, well, I mean, the kid is just on the money with the football, just accurate. One of the more accurate quarterbacks Notre Dame's had. Obviously the deep ball, that was a great play by Jaden Thomas. It was underthrown, but hey, we'll take that. We'll take as many of those as you can get. But I thought distributing the football and doing some things, there was a lot of opportunities there that he really put some. I mean, gosh, that second touchdown, what a throw that he threw to Mayer. Just a beautiful throw. I mean, that it had to be right there. Otherwise it was getting batted down, and he really played outstanding in this game. So for all us doubters that, can Drew Pine be that kind of quarterback? If he can run like this, he certainly can. And I think he's even exceeded my expectations of when you have a good running game. Yama, your thoughts there, buddy?
Yeah, I think the protection was the biggest helper for him, because I mean, there's so many of those times where he just had all day to throw, right? And I think the one thing too with him, and I know like you mentioned that Thomas play, and he missed the one Mayer throw, on that third down, but for most of the day, like he completed 79% of his passes. So that's 3 straight games over 70%. He's basically and throwing it like deep over the middle, like hitting guys in stride. Ball placement has been really good, right?
It has been, absolutely.
And I think that's the main thing that stands out about it, is that I think like, it's obvious he doesn't have the dynamic part about him in terms of like what he brings in terms of like his arm or his athleticism or whatever, right? Like he's not even Ian Book in that, but how he is better than Ian Book is like he makes a lot of those throws a lot of these throws too, where you're like, Ian Book wouldn't even throw that ball. That's where you see the big difference with Drew.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. Ian Book would have not taken a lot of those chances today. He just is not that. Was a very risk averse type of quarterback. And I think the comment the guy put up there that Greg just put up there about Pine, that scramble was huge to pick up that first down. That was absolutely huge, and that was just a great play made by a guy doing the smart thing at that point. And, the underhand scoop, I don't know about you, but I was like, man, he fumbled the ball. I was like, okay. And of course, Estime picked it up.
Great play by Estime, yeah.
Oh, it really was. Yeah. So, yeah, I was, Notre Dame made some clutch plays when they had to, and that's good. And when you get a quarterback that plays like that, you're going to be pretty good. So, Drew Pine, hats off to you, buddy. I thought it was excellent. Guys, defensively, what do we have here? I mean, it is a group that looks just dominating, and then they look like they can't stop anybody the next drive. It's really bizarre to watch this team. And again, I think we saw a safety play. It's just not very good back there. And I'm still not fond of the linebacker play, but safety play is not very good either. When was the last time a safety made a play on the ball in the air? It's been, I don't even remember, probably since Kyle Hamilton played. So yeah, it is what it is. But Yama, what do you think? What do you think we got here with this defense? It's like Jekyll and Hyde.
I think certainly in the second half, that was some of it. I think BYU was stupid to not run more.
Yeah,
than they
no
did. They could have ran on Notre Dame all day, and Notre Dame greatly missed Howard Cross in this game. Wow, did they miss Howard Cross?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you see the difference. I don't think Chris Smith was bad, but I think you saw with Gabriel Rubio playing more plays, like you don't see the and not that the kid plays hard, right? But you don't see the consistency from him. You see him get reached. You see him like end up on the ground on so many plays, like that one big touchdown. Like he ended up on the ground and back into JD Bertrand on that play. Like that was something that, like, obviously that's not happening with Howard Cross, right?
Yeah.
And then even like Jason Admiral like makes that big play, but he's also not a guy who he's not built. He's a guy built to shoot gaps. He's not a guy who's built to be like stout in the running game. So I mean, I'm worried, and obviously they lost Lacey. So they need Cross back like soon. I mean, obviously they need him healthy, but like that was a big loss. And so now that's the one thing I'm worried about too, because Bracey, I mean, you come pull up that hammy like that.
Yeah.
And then Foskey, I don't know if I don't think he was out there on that last drive, right? So if Foskey's hurt and Bracey's hurt and Cross hurt, those are the three best guys in the defense this year. Those are the three best players in the defense, in my opinion. So, and the linebacker play, I mean, safety play too. Like, I think it's not good, but like the linebacker play is just not even close. It's just not even close. It's just, I just don't see it from them. And you will get the occasion. I think you just get the flashes from Marist. Obviously, he's a good, talented blitzer, and he made that big stop on that 3rd and short. That was a big play. But like, you know, you don't see him. He's not like a natural guy inside. It doesn't like, he's not a guy who works through the trash very well. And I don't think with the other guys, I think Kaiser obviously had a better game in this game, but he's still not a natural fit in there either. And Bertrand, like this one play with Bertrand just sums it all up for me. They ran that one speed option.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, Nana played it pretty good, stretched it out. Yeah. And like, you're unblocked. You're unblocked. You got to make that play. Get there? That looked to me like Joe Schmidt. You know what I mean? Like he can't make that. So like,
he's not physically capable.
Yeah. Your Mike linebacker's got to run that down. And I one thing to say about Bo Bauer, right? He probably would have ran that down. Right. Yeah. Like, so, and I know he's banged up too, but man, that's a thing on that sack by Coley. And I understand, like, he's probably not like assignment wise, maybe not as good, but like he ran down Hall in space there, and you just saw that speed. And boy, is that what Notre Dame is missing.
Oh, isn't that the truth? And I mean, if the guys that are in there aren't making plays anyway, and if they are making a play, it's 17 yards down the field. What does it matter? You know, if the guy is not assignment sound, if you're making a play 17 yards down the field anyway, they're gonna. To me, they just need to start taking a chance back there with Coley and just see what he can do. And I don't know. I don't know. You know, Marist, I really thought Marist would be better than he is by now. He's played enough football. He should be more effective than he is too. And it's just, I don't know, not very good right now. So
I think tempo, what Ryan is mentioning here too, tempo was a problem late in the game. And that's really where they killed them on tempo. They really like beat them for big plays on tempo.
A&M's driving on Bama here, dudes. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought the disorganization on defense was something that I was really disappointed by. I mean, first of all, so they blitz, so they do a safety blitz again, which I don't like that. I just don't bring them from depth anymore. But then you have, I don't even know, like, I don't even know if I can do a breakdown on this play on Twitter because I don't know what's going on. I don't know where Houston's going. He just
they didn't show a good shot of.
No, they did show it.
They did.
They did after the fact.
The second time, they did.
Yeah, the second time they did, it was the all 22. I don't know where Houston's going. Right. So he's leaving the middle of the field. The middle of the field's wide open. Mickey,
and you're single high safety. What are you
doing? I
don't
think that's Mickey's fault on that.
No.
I'm just saying, like, Houston's got to help him out there.
He sent him to.
He went straight to the boundary. He just went right to the sideline. Just literally was running over there.
I think my thing is, like, that's now the second game in a row where someone's turned loose in the secondary.
Yeah.
And people don't know what they're doing. You know, that's a problem. Okay. Like, once it's almost like, remember when Kyron would fumble in 2020, and it's like, look, he keeps fumbling. It's a problem. Like, Notre Dame keeps turning people loose. It's a problem. If it's going to happen in every game, like, that's not okay. Like you're going to give up points. And then after that, there were just a number of times, like the comment I just put up, like they're running around. They don't know where to line up. The run fits at that point are just awful because you don't have people lined up in the right spot. There was one time where BYU went fast line of scrimmage and they were about to snap it. And then they said, wait, and they did a check with me to the sideline. And then Bo Bauer runs up and flips the defensive tackles. I mean, they're not in the right spot, you know? So it's like, if they had run a play, do those defensive tackles know what they're supposed to be doing from the other position? Like that's not how it's supposed to go, right? So they missed Howard Cross for sure. And we should point, they missed Jacob Lacey as well. I mean, for that matter.
I think so. Yeah.
So
I think if they had Cross, they would have been fine. But if you lose Cross,
both of them,
and Lacey,
it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like it's the double whammy.
That's a bigger problem. I was talking to my wife about this when we were driving today to go pick up food. It's like that's the biggest problem you're going to have with this transfer portal now. Is all these guys are going to be, your good players are going to leave because they're not starting. Like your rotation guys, and that's a concern to me. It just is.
I think there's I think if he would have played more, I think if he was playing 25 plays a game, I think he would have stayed for the year.
I think so too. I think so too.
And that's the main thing. He wasn't playing that much, and that was the main thing. So really Notre Dame, since they've had it happen twice, right? Michael Young was the other guy who was a 4-game guy.
Yeah.
And that one was also kind of like he came back from injury and then he got like 1 target in 2 games and he was like, well, I'm out. Right. But I mean, I can see that kind of happening, and that obviously didn't help Notre Dame that year. But I mean, they could have played Lacey more. They should have known that something could have happened, and they should have fought harder to be like, Lacey, we're going to get you out on the field more. And because
really, that's the problem when you bring in a Chris Smith, it then eats away from opportunities for other guys. And, Chris Smith's been solid. He's been a good player. There's, nothing bad about playing the guy. I thought that Lacey would play a little bit more, but when you have that situation, that's what you're going to have. And so you bring Chris Smith in and he plays, but then he's eating minutes away. And in that situation, now you're going to lose a guy who could have helped you next year, where Chris Smith can only help you this year. So, and that's the problem you're going to run into with a lot of this type of stuff, but it just is what it is. Greg, I'm sure there's a bunch of chat people in the chat. Do they have some comments, questions?
There's a lot of chat. There's a lot of chat. I'm trying to find something that isn't just like completely inflammatory. So here's the thing.
Are they complaining about the game or us?
No, the game. So okay. Here's the thing about this. Okay. Yeah. Notre Dame gave up less than 300 yards of total offense in this game. Okay. The only reason that BYU, people think anything about BYU, is because of their offense.
Yeah.
It's the only reason, right? What did Gunnar Romney do today?
Nothing.
Very little, yeah.
Literally nothing.
1 catch, 8 yards.
Yeah, okay. One catch, 8 yards that I don't
3
remember.
targets.
Okay, yeah. Didn't do anything. Right? Puka Nacua, he had the 1 drop, okay? And that's it. He didn't look
0 catches on 3 targets.
Jaron Hall looked terrible. Right now, look, maybe he's hurt, maybe he isn't. I don't know, right? Notre Dame's playing a backup quarterback. So, you're playing the number 16 team in the country, right? And not just that, you're playing a really good offense. If you hold a really good offense to under 300 yards, you did a good job.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
Full stop. Look at what Ohio State's offense has been doing, man. Look what Marvin Harrison did today, right? Notre Dame, they do. It's one of those things like I talked about with Cam Hart. Notre Dame has very loud misses in that.
Yeah.
When they look bad, it's what it's like. It's like if Jonathan Dorr was the defense.
Yeah.
Jonathan Dorr, when he missed field goals, they were the ugliest things you've ever seen in your life.
He was kicking into the stands on the sideline.
He'd miss a 30-yard field goal by 20 yards. But then, when he made it, it was
then he make a 47-yarder to
and it's the
win
most
the
beautiful
game.
thing you've ever seen. And I think the Notre Dame defense is like that. When they're off, they are off. But when they're on,
great comparison,
when they're on, I think they're really good. I mean, so it's just like that's
the first half was they were really good in the first half. 20
points. I mean, 20 points.
Yeah.
Well, I predicted before the game 38-20 Notre Dame, right? And people
if you went into the game,
at most of the predictions,
yeah,
they're all over 20 points.
And if you went into the game and said Notre Dame's going to hold BYU to 20, Jaron Hall's going to throw for 120 yards in the game, on you would say, I'll take that any day.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously they won the game. So, and really Notre Dame left obviously points on the board too. Right. So, I mean, it should have been better, but I think you just saw Notre Dame is a flawed team. They're a flawed team, just like BYU is an extremely flawed team, right? Like BYU is not might be ranked 16th, but they're not 16th best. They weren't even close, right? So I mean, it was a good win. It was a good win, right? I
think a lot of people are complaining, and rightfully so. But I think that you need to be mad at the offense a little bit too. The offense left a lot of points on the field; they just did, and you score a couple touchdowns there, and nobody's complaining about anything. And they were there to be had too. They really were there to be had. I don't think Tommy did a good job calling plays down in the red zone. I think that was part of it. But again, I think that this, as Greg mentioned, it's the busted plays where they look like they don't know what the hell they're doing. That's the issue. And I think we all have said that it's not the most athletic group either. The corners, they're not the fastest guys in the country. We know. I mean, we know the safeties are what they are. I mean, this has been that way for a long time. And, Houston Griffith is Houston Griffith. Nothing's really going to change there. Just has no ball recognition. I don't know. He's played for 4 or 5 years now and just has never been the player that a lot of people thought he would be. And to think that he would suddenly become one, it's probably fool's gold. My question is, if we know that this is what they have, should other guys get a shot? Should your Prince Coley get a shot? Ramon, I don't know what the situation was. I assume he was out again. I didn't see him in there. Did you see him?
I saw him in for at least one snap.
Yeah. So, and I know he's been banged up, so that's hard to know. X Watts, it's just really, there's nobody else that you can plug in there. And then, linebacker as well. But I think you're right, Jamie. Losing Howard Cross hurt bad. That certainly hurt. And as you mentioned, losing Lacey and Howard Cross for the same game hurt. And then, you have some guys getting banged up. But I am concerned if Foskey's hurt and if Howard is hurt and Bracey, yeah. If Bracey's hurt too, I mean, gosh, what are we going to do? That's going to be a tough situation. And I don't know. Guess we'll see. If you have questions, folks, make sure you just kind of post question, and we'll be more than happy to discuss any questions you have.
There was a comment about Jaden Thomas that I put up that I wanted to talk about him because he made a couple big. I mean, obviously the touchdown is a huge play. Yeah. There was a crossing route too.
He was wide
open. on the first play. There was a crossing route on the first play of the drive that ended up in the tip ball interception. I thought it was a great catch and run by Thomas over the middle.
Yeah,
it was one of the better throws that Drew Pine has made. And I do want to point out, Drew Pine made some throws today that were like the second touchdown to Mayer. That's over the top. I mean, that's not terrible coverage. That's over the top.
It was really good coverage.
Bucket. Yeah, over the top in a bucket. Like, that's a great throw, right? Like, it's one of those things where I think we've previously thought of Drew Pine. It's like, oh, make the layups. Well, that's not a layup.
Yeah,
that's a fall away 20-footer. That's a really good throw. The throw over the middle to Thomas, I thought was a great throw. It was a great open to that drive, and it's a shame that drive ended in the tip ball interception because it was looking like a great answer. And I thought what happened with what they got from Jaden Thomas today, I think that's huge for the offense going forward because they needed someone like that. They needed someone like that to make a play. Jamie noted on Twitter when the play happened, like, is he going to be the jump ball guy? Is he going to be the guy that can get on the back shoulder? So I thought that was a really good thing that happened in this game.
I think after the catch as well, that's another thing because really they only had Styles and obviously Mayer, right? But out of the receivers, it's just Styles was the only guy who could do anything after the catch. And now all of a sudden you see Jaden Thomas, when you give this guy a shot, he can do some things after the catch.
Oh yeah,
right?
Definitely,
They just needed somebody to step up, and it looks like he can be a somebody. So I think that was a really significant development.
Tobias played more in this game than we've seen. I didn't see the snap counts, but I noticed him in there a lot more than we would. So that's encouraging. And they just need some people to step forward and become something, there in the passing game. But just having Thomas step forward, I think, is huge. Logan Diggs, I thought, looked the best he's looked all year. and that was a critical run that he made there.
Yeah.
And I like backs that don't get knocked off their balance. He's a tough runner. You can hit his legs and he's not going to just fall down. And so I was encouraged by that. That's good to see. Got a question here. What about the lack of targeting call on the Estime run? No booth review either. How's it possible that it was helmet to helmet? We're always on the wrong side of targeting calls. What did you guys think of that one?
I didn't think it was.
I didn't even
I'll have to look back. I'll have to look back at it. But also too, it was one of those ones where it's like do or die for the defense there. They're just like doing anything to try to make a play. Yeah. I don't think there was like malicious intent there. Even if there was helmet to helmet, like obviously you're supposed to call to the letter of the law anyways, but I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at it. But obviously too, that's like a call, like they're just worried about the spot. I don't think like that's something that I don't think I've ever seen like a helmet to helmet in that kind of situation. Helmet to helmet is almost always a receiver over the middle or like a quarterback getting hit. Like very rarely on a running back on that kind of play do you see a helmet to helmet type of deal. So that's probably why it wasn't called if there was one.
Yeah. I don't even know. I'm not even sure exactly what call he's talking about. So, question, does it seem like there's a lack of speed to the edge incorporated in the run game? Lindsey end around, Styles reverses. Seems like the running game stalls when we load the box for power. Amen, man. I've been saying this for a long time. I don't understand when you have short yardage why they continue to put all these tight ends and everything's so compressed together. I realize that you're lead blocking and things like that. I understand that. And Notre Dame has had success in that situation. But when you're talking about tight game, tight windows like that for short yardage, I don't understand why they continue to do that. As far as the speed end arounds and stuff, I didn't see a lot of that in this game. I think Tommy did a pretty good job with some of this stuff. The screens were abysmal. I mean, they had so many bad things happen in their screens. I don't know whether they practiced those or what.
The first one would have hit big if
both of them it was going to pop, man.
Yeah, but you got to catch the ball. The second one was a 7-yard loss. There was like a couple others. The Mayer screen down in the goal line down there. That was very poorly executed. I don't know. I don't know. Thoughts?
What did Jamie, what do you think of when they throw that screen? They have the back essentially dropping almost like, I don't know how to, like behind the offensive line. You know how sometimes they go up to the line and then they leak out and they're basically at the line of scrimmage when they catch it. Notre Dame has it to where the back comes up and then they almost backpedal backwards. They're catching it like 3-4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And I feel like every time they do that, the line has a chance to recover. Like normally they would be behind the play, but now they're in front of the play and they can run forward. Like I don't know why they keep running it like that. They've had a couple where it's set up better, but because of where the back is catching the ball, it affects the play. They don't have a chance to get upfield.
Also, the weird thing is because BYU's pass rush was so bad, it's like it's funny because we used to joke about there's this guy that I played with who we used to joke he's always playing screen and draw because he could never get any push on a pass rush. It's like he's getting a screen or draw. He's playing it. That's what he's doing his job, screen or draw every time because he can get no push. And so these guys weren't getting pushed, but it's almost like sometimes you have to almost throw them, the offensive line, almost throw them forward, but they were getting no push. And that was one of the reasons why that other one kind of blew up on it too. But yeah, I agree, Greg. There's something there with how they run that specific one too. That's just missing. I don't know. I haven't really liked a lot of the screen game stuff they did. Obviously they ran that tunnel screen to Mara too. That was just that was a terrible call. But I don't know. They need some help in the screen game.
Yeah. Question here: do you think Reese needs to call a few design runs for Pine, especially in the red zone, just so he's accounted for? Felt that 4th and 1, Pine could have easily, and I agree. There are a lot of times where he could have easily just walked into the end zone with that situation. Now, are you here's the situation you're going to run into with that. If you're 4th and goal at the 1 yard line, and all of a sudden you give the ball and you expect Drew Pine to score there, and he doesn't score, I cannot imagine the outcry from the fans.
You think people are mad about the Mare tunnel screen?
I mean, you're not giving the ball to like.
You're gonna let Drew Pine try and score. I mean, know what was coming if that was.
This is the other thing. It's like they got stuffed on the 4th and inches quarterback sneak, and it's like, well, of course you should be running a quarterback sneak with Drew Pine. He's too small, whatever. It's like, well, they should have ran it this week. Instead, they gave it to Snap, and it was like that was the wrong call. And
7 yards back too,
and that thing too, like where they were they came out and they were 13 personnel, then they spread it out. But BYU was like, we don't care. We're still gonna, so it was just right away. That was something they needed to run a check to something else.
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to throw this right, you guys. Did you see what I put on the Twitter machine, Jamie?
No,
about the goal line stuff. And I'm not even joking. Teach Michael Mayer how to take a snap from under center. Have him do the sneaks. If it's that close, have him do it.
Well,
you don't want Drew Pine to do it.
Kansas City did.
Kansas City did it.
They had a tight
teach him to do it.
Come up and take the snap.
I don't understand. Yeah. So what if they know?
Eli Raridan, whatever, whoever.
It doesn't matter. Have him snap it. Push him forward. The guy's 270.
Push him. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It should be. I think what hurts them too is you just, God bless, 52 there, but you just don't know what is going to happen. You know what I mean? So I think that it's one of these things where with Corral, you're just kind of like, come on, man. Is he going to? Half the time he does a good job, half the time he doesn't in those situations, and you're asking a guy who's just not, physically big enough to just dominate in there. And so I think that's kind of the problem that they have there with that situation. Gosh, isn't that the truth, man? But yeah, I
don't know. I mute the game. I
did too. I got so sick of Garrett. I'm just like, wow. And I'm sure he's a nice guy. But wow. I mean, how many times can you say the same thing over and over and over again? Well, that's what Notre Dame wants to do. They want to run the ball and get the ball to Michael Mayer. Yeah, no kidding. You've only said that 7,000 times already. Well,
it's disappointing because obviously, and I think Collinsworth hasn't been as bad. He's not helped because his partner in the booth is good, right? Yeah. So I don't think he's been terrible or anything by any means, but obviously he's not Mike Tirico. So that it's a drop off. But I think when you had like Tony Dungy, who I don't think is like Mr. Personality or anything like that, but he can tell you stuff about football during a game and communicate it like concisely in a way to do it. And it's just the broadcast is lacking.
I mean, we have Jason Garrett saying the most like mundane, obvious things you could ever imagine.
Sounds like every press conference he ever gave is.
And meanwhile, Dan Orlovsky's using the telestrator to call plays. Before the play happens. It's like there's obviously another way. I mean, come on.
It'd be like if we tried to replace the Yama with like Buccos. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't. It just everybody.
I hope he's listening to this.
I hope he is too. No. All right, can we talk about the ND offense's tendency to always run on 2nd and long? It's like clockwork. Everybody, I've been saying this forever. And
you know what? It has been a problem, except for in this game, they had actually a lot of success running on 2nd and long in this game.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So it was. I'm not.
I understand why you want to do it, of course, and as long as you have
for it, but they
break the tendency a little bit too. You know what I mean?
No, it's a problem. It's a problem.
It's breaking the tendency that's the issue. I don't have a problem doing it, and I mean you see it in the NFL all the time. Teams do it constantly. Because the difference between 3rd and 7 in the NFL and 3rd and 3 is massive, and so it makes sense to do it, but you can't do it every single time. You got to break that tendency. And
it's like you shouldn't do it every single time because it's not good football.
Yeah.
Like Marcus Freeman, they asked him about the 4th down call and why they went for it and why they went for 2 and that sort of thing. And he was like, oh, analytics XYZ, right? Like, yeah, we look at the chart or whatever the chart says. Okay, fine. But then, like, why aren't you looking at analytics for something like this?
Yeah.
Right. Like, don't like that analytics say like you should almost never run on 2nd and long. If you're going to do it sometimes, it's fine. Right. Like, no problem. But like they consistently did this. And it's interesting too, that they very clearly were comfortable putting Drew Pine in 3rd down situations. And he was very good.
Very good.
So they I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to
good
say
luck
like,
doing that all the time. You know what I mean?
It's like you think to yourself, this is not
can't
sustainable.
Continue to yeah, exactly.
Right? Like it just can't. But then he kept doing it. So it's one of those things where the thing that we didn't want them to do, that we didn't think would work, it actually did work. But it's probably you probably still shouldn't be doing it, right? Like it's one of those kind of situations where it's like you should really stop. But then again, Drew Pine, great job on 3rd down, right? Yeah. So, I mean, let me look at Notre Dame's.
It's getting interesting here, Alabama A&M.
Yeah. It's Notre Dame interesting. Notre Dame was 11 of 16 on 3rd down today.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's incredible.
That's good.
Very good.
Also, Drew, I think when you look at it and you look at like what BYU did, they were only 3 of 9 on 3rd down compared to 11 of 16. So
yeah.
And how many first downs they got? Obviously, it's just because if you look at, it's just because of the second half wasn't what, obviously what you wanted. You gave up those big plays, but yeah, that's, I mean, but if you compare it and you look at actually what happened over the course of the game, you'd say, oh yeah, they actually did do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, I brought this up earlier in the thing. Like, I think it's just because it's one of those games where
it was frustrating to watch.
It was frustrating because you felt like Notre Dame was blowing it.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of the lasting emotion. I think for me too, like watching the game, it's like you feel like they're blowing the game, and so that's why.
And you want to be able to relax and whatever. If you're a fan, you're just sitting there.
That's why people focus on kind of the negative, is because you felt like Notre Dame was blowing it. But it is true. Like I think people should. People should. Yeah, I mean, look, they were a good team. At 3-2.
Yeah, and there's a lot to look forward to now too. I mean, people have to. You lose this game, and I don't want to say the season is done, but it's a lot less interesting, right? But now you've got some winnable games on the horizon here, and then you got Clemson. We'll see what happens. And look, Clemson. They didn't look like world beaters today against Boston College.
And BC
they really didn't.
Good.
Yeah. And so, and the interesting thing is BC, actually did a pretty good job in protection at times, and their offensive line sucks. And so, Jamie and I have been saying for a while that Clemson's D line seems to be overrated. Their whole defense doesn't seem to be that good. And I realize that they didn't give up a lot of points to BC, but BC's offense has really struggled. And so, I think the bigger takeaway from that is that they couldn't score more points on Boston College, and so I think that says a lot about Clemson. They're not quite as good. I think if you look at what we saw with USC and their high-powered offense today, good, but nothing great. And so I don't know. I mean, I just think this win gives you a chance now to actually have a pretty exciting season, and we'll see what's happened. So
I mean, CMAC, did you watch the last 2 games? The guy had 14 pressures the last 2 games. Yeah. I don't know. I think Foskey's played pretty well the last 2 games. I think I think in this game, like, I don't think he played a lot in the second half. Like, I think he was hurt. So I think that's, if you're like, what happened to him? He wasn't in there. Like, that's one of the things. And the other thing is they ran the ball a lot in the second half, right? So they only threw the ball 17 times, right? So it wasn't like there wasn't a lot of pass rush opportunities. Like, I think if you look at probably in this game, I bet Isaiah Foskey probably rushed the passer like less than 10 times in this whole game, because you're considering, like, they're rotating guys out, and then wasn't in at the end. So I mean, I don't think like him not being a big factor in this game, I think had more to do with like the game flow than it did anything to do with him, because obviously the last 2 games he was awesome.
Did we talk about the 3rd and 17th defensive call? I don't think it had anything to do with Notre Dame's
I don't think
defense.
it was a call. I think it was. I think it was the players. You got to make a play.
Poor execution, and again, I don't mean to be hard on JD Bertrand, but he's got to make some plays when he's in the game, and he just doesn't make plays. And Maris too. There's opportunities for both those guys, and you shouldn't have 3rd and 17. You shouldn't have somebody run and pick up the first down. But let's flip it. Notre Dame did the same thing. You know what I mean? They did the same thing. So sometimes things happen.
The other thing that happened on that play is Mickey is engaging a wide receiver while the play is happening behind him.
Yeah.
So he's not aware yet. Oh, there it is. Picked off.
Bama's gonna win.
Yep.
Oh, they're calling PI. They're gonna call PI.
Are they?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be in the end zone. Okay. It's going to be 1st and goal, A&M from the 2.
Oh, 3 seconds left on the game clock.
They're going
I wonder if they'll put more time on.
Well,
so it's one play.
They're talking about it, so.
Crazy. But yeah, I don't think it was necessarily the defensive call. There are some others, the late safety blitz again, can we just take that out of the playbook? It's just never effective. I just don't understand.
I really don't. I don't.
Well, I
don't get it either.
I think it's not even that it's obviously not planned to be late, but when you're playing a tempo team, you can't call that, because if they all of a sudden decide to snap the ball and you don't have the timing right, I mean, you're in no man's land and then you're hooped, right? Yeah. And obviously there was a bust behind it. Right,
big bust.
But it's like if you're playing with on a tempo team, like the one against Ohio State, that was like a different play because it was like a cover 0 play that, and then the timing was just off by the safeties. But this one was like it was a tempo call, so it was like it wasn't a good call. It wasn't a good call to have against this specific team. It made it a really bad call.
So what do you guys think? Go ahead, Greg.
No. I was just gonna say, like, you don't need it.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You haven't done it all game. They haven't done anything all game, and so then you turn someone loose. Like, it's just not.
On the other big play they made, they sent both backers. You remember? They sent both backers, and I'll have to rewatch it again. But it's like Maris, like, on purpose ran into the running back. You know what I mean? It's like he turned to hit the running back, and it's like, what are you doing, man? Who cares if the running back isn't right in front of you? Just run through him. And it's almost like he turned to hit the running back before he got to the quarterback. And granted, they missed it. Oh no, they're talking about the field goals. Okay, I don't know what I'm thinking, but it's just not been very, very effective when they've done that. And, Marist was a good blitzer before this, and it's just, I don't know.
I thought the very first play of the pick of the game, his blitz was the reason
certainly
it happened. Yeah. That one blitz too, I think with, that's it. Game over.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, Alabama win. I mean, I don't want Texas A&M to win. Hope they.
Yeah, either.
Jimbo, like, you're terrible. Like,
yeah.
Well,
you know what? They played good today, though. Yeah, I mean, they got three losses, but they did play a good game today. But I just don't think Bama's that good.
They don't play like. Also, too, like, anyone could have said he would have got this credit for this win, but Bryce Young wasn't playing.
So, exactly.
And the backup, Milrow, he struggled, right?
Yeah.
You know what's weird about the defense, in my opinion, is that I feel like they don't give up points. They don't give up yards, really. I mean, a little bit, but not against North Carolina. Like, they didn't start giving up yards until basically that game was over.
Yeah.
But who's playing well?
Yeah.
The 3 guys who might not be available next
year. Even Foskey, he's not playing. He's playing okay. He's not playing great, right? And who? No linebackers are really playing well.
No.
Foskey's playing okay. Cross is playing well, but
it is actually insane that they've done as well as they have without. And like you're saying, Greg, that is.
Here's the other point that I was thinking about during the game in the beginning too. Notre Dame is shutting down BYU, right? Cam Hart and Clarence Lewis both lost their jobs.
Yeah.
The 2 starting corners for a defense that's playing well lost their jobs. And it's like kind of amazing to me that they're still, that they're playing as well as they are when no one player is actually playing good football. Like really excellent,
like dominant player.
There's no one. They don't have anybody on this, like on the defense that would be an All-American candidate or even close. They don't have anybody.
No, not at all.
And so that is shocking, really. Like that not that they wouldn't have that, but the fact that they've given up like 20 points in a lot of games. Like they're not giving up a ton of points, right? And I don't know, like, I don't know how much that is on, like, because people want to say, like, is that Al Golden or is that the coaches in general, why a lot of these guys aren't playing, like getting to that level, or do they just not have those guys?
Yeah.
Like, and it might be just that they don't have those guys, right? Because even if you think about it, look at like some of the other guys like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Julian Love, who are all American players for Notre Dame. They were 3-star guys who weren't supposed to be, all Americans. Definitely not as good as they were, right? So, Notre Dame kind of needs like a guy like Marist or a guy like Kaiser to hit big, and they just haven't. Up to this point, right? And obviously Foskey's been that's sometimes good, but not on a consistent basis. It's not like I wouldn't even say, like, if you'd say like Foskey and where he's at, you would say like peak Julian Okwara was better than Foskey, in my opinion. And I think or like peak Khalid Kareem, even though they're played different positions, but whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what they're kind of missing. They're missing those guys, and they have to get that. And so maybe
Julian didn't get the sacks, but he got more consistent pressure.
Incredible pressure.
Yeah. He didn't get the sacks, but he got incredible consistent pressure, and he was very effective. There's no doubt about it. All right, guys. Last topic I want to hit. Obviously, we got Stanford coming up. Anything concern you about this game other than the injuries that we talked about? Anything that concerns you about this team coming in? And Notre Dame, obviously, it's a big win, and it's one of those things where, they'll probably be in the top 25 now. I would assume they'll be ranked. And if that's the case, there's certainly they're going to overlook Stanford, but I don't think that's going to happen. But anything concern you about this game? Let's start with you, Greg.
And no, not really. I mean, just like Stanford has the good quarterback, right? And I think people like Tanner McKee quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, but they've had a good quarterback, right? Like, what's the Mills? What's the guy's name?
Davis Mills.
Davis Mills. He was a good quarterback. Like he's a good quarterback for Houston. That didn't do anything for them.
Costello was okay too. Like
Costello was good. Yeah, they've been fine at quarterback.
It's everything else around it.
Yeah, it's everything else. And plus, like,
mainly O-line.
They know they're bad now too. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
And I've been looking around. I've been trying to search for Freeman's comments about injuries and stuff. I feel like Bracey had a cramp. I think he was cramping. He pulled up, but he was on the sideline.
Yeah, I did notice that where afterwards where he was standing, it didn't look like if he had like ripped his hamstring, he would have been standing on the sideline.
No, he'd have ice on it. He wouldn't have his helmet on. Like he was. I thought he had a cramp. Just for him.
And plus, he's a guy who never comes out of the game. So that it could be. So
and Foss he said Cross had a high ankle, which you don't like, but he said he tried it, right?
Yeah.
So he wasn't out. He tried it and it just wasn't there.
I wouldn't even play him next week. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, he wasn't dressed. I think they could probably get away from him or get away with it. So the only thing that would concern me now at this point, especially going against Stanford, is a drop in play, right?
Yeah.
And that's the
I want to see Coley. I want to see some of these young guys get a shot.
I think we will. I think you're going to see a lot more Prince Coley because he limited snaps, but he made plays. You know, he made a play.
And he
and
didn't
that's
look lost.
obviously-
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's obviously very good for him. You know, Tobias Merriweather got more snaps. So that's good, right? People maybe, I don't know, you'd like to see him get a target so people will stop asking about it. But yeah, it's just a drop in play. And that's going to be the toughest thing, right? When you're a backup quarterback, it's going to be like consistency week to week, right? Are we going to see a drop and that sort of thing? That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Yeah. Hats off to Drew Pine. Yama, what do you think? Your thoughts real quick.
I mean, I don't think they're going to lose the game. I don't think they would have to play. I think they'd have to play horrible to lose the game. That's how little I think of Stanford this year. Even if like all those guys are out, I'd still think they're just way better than Stanford. So I guess I wouldn't be concerned about that, but I guess I don't know. I guess you just want to see like situationally them to play better on offense. So you just want I want to see them have a better plan for situational like short yardage and red zone short yardage. Like let's get a better plan, you know. And
I want to see better execution.
Yeah, right. And
as well.
And I think though too, but it's like also too, if you know, like it's like how Stanford that one year when they had like Barry Sanders Jr. and like I can't remember who the short yardage back was, but they had like they converted on short yardage like every time. And they ran the same play over and over and over again. Then that short little toss, whatever, right? That just inside toss, and they convert every single time. And it's just because they executed at that certain level. But it's like Notre Dame doesn't have something that they've executed at that level, so they don't have a plan. They don't have like so they need to come up with a better plan. Is what I think. And then I think defensively, it's just like you're just waiting. You're just waiting. So whether it's Cully or somebody else to kind of step up, whatever, like, is there going to be a guy who steps up and becomes like a dominant player? Is that going to happen? You know, because
they need a star. I mean, they need somebody to just break out and be somebody, you know?
So even if you said like, say Riley Mills had 2 sacks in the last game, I mean, Riley Mills you didn't really notice him in this game. And obviously I'll rewatch the game, but like, if you're going to be a guy that, you know, like him, who's, I mean, obviously he's a specimen, right? But like, you need to be a guy who's dominant every game. And they just don't have a guy who's that, whether that's on the defensive line or linebacker, secondary, whatever. They don't have that.
Yeah. I will say to BYU's credit, you know, their tackles, I mean, that guy's legit. You know, he's a good player.
Yes, their left tackle's very good.
And so, you know, you're going against a Sunday player there. And so, you know, there's some bonus for that. But to me, I just want to see him execute better. I mean, they got to get better in the red zone. You know, I don't think Drew Pine can play any better. You know what I mean? I think that's the ceiling. And for Notre Dame fans to expect him to play like that all the time, that's not going to happen. You know, I just don't think that. You know, you're going to have to obviously the pass protection was really good, and that certainly helped. And then the running game as well. So they're going to have to execute better. And we just got to hope that that's what we see, and we'll go from there. Well, Yama, you got to get busy with your stuff. I got to do mine. Greg, you know, he's got his stuff to do as well.
I got to get prepped for tomorrow's recap.
What time is that? Just so everybody knows what to expect.
So the recap show tomorrow is at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific.
Okay. All right. Be looking for that, folks. And we will talk to you real soon on YouTube Live. Thanks for watching.